My husband called me, the step one, the night everything shattered between us. For 6 years, I'd been the one doing bedtime routines, signing permission slips, and wiping away tears. But when his ex decided she wanted back in, suddenly biology mattered more than showing up every single day. So I accepted that job offer in Europe and left. 3 months later, my phone rang at 3 a.m., and the man who'd told me I wasn't his son's real mom was crying on the other end. What happened next forced all of us to answer a question nobody wants to face. What makes someone a parent, DNA, or the person who stays when staying gets hard? If you're watching this right now, drop a comment and let me know where you're from. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. I've been in Noah's life longer than he can remember his biological mother. That's not a boast. It's just math. He was 3 when Daniel and I got serious, barely 4 when I moved in. Now he's 9, and when he talks about learning to ride a bike or his first day of kindergarten, I'm the one standing in those memories. Not because I pushed my way in, because I was there. I remember the first time he skinned his knee in our driveway. He ran straight to me, tears streaming, blood trickling down his shin. I cleaned it, put on the bandage with the dinosaurs he loved, kissed it twice for good measure. He looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said, "Thanks, Mom." Daniel heard it from the kitchen window. I saw his face, something between relief and guilt. He never corrected Noah. Neither did I. That's how it started. Bedtime stories where I did all the character voices. School projects spread across the dining room table at 10 at night. Parent-teacher conferences where I took notes while Daniel nodded along. The day Noah got the stomach flu and only wanted me to hold his hair back, sit with him, tell him he'd be okay. I wasn't trying to replace anyone. I was just loving a kid who needed loving. Daniel is a good man. That's what made everything harder. He's the kind of father who never misses a soccer game, who checks homework without being asked, who still reads to Noah even though Noah can read chapter books on his own now. But Daniel hates conflict. I mean, really hates it. He'll do anything to avoid a difficult conversation, frame every hard decision as temporary, every compromise as just for now. "It's for Noah's sake," he'd say. I heard that phrase so often it became background noise, like the hum of the refrigerator or the tick of the clock. Looking back, I realized Noah became Daniel's excuse for never dealing with anything head-on. Aaron came back into the picture slowly. That's the thing about these situations, they don't explode. They seep. She'd always been around, technically. A phone call every few weeks, birthday cards that arrived late, the occasional supervised visit that Daniel drove Noah to while I stayed home. She had her reasons, I guess. Postpartum depression that spiraled into something darker. A bad relationship after Daniel. Moving 3 states away for work. I didn't judge her for leaving. People break in different ways. But then the calls became more frequent. Aaron started asking for extra time, showing up at pickup with Starbucks for Noah and smiles that lasted a little too long. Daniel said she was getting her life together, that it was good for Noah to have both parents involved. I agreed. I did. I'm not a monster. I wanted Noah to have a relationship with his mother. What I didn't expect was how quickly involved would turn into in charge. The flexibility started small. Could she take Noah on a Tuesday instead of Saturday? Could they do dinner before drop-off? Daniel always said yes before consulting me, then presented it like it was already decided. "Aaron just needs this right now," he'd say. "She's fragile." Fragile. That word got used a lot. One night, about 4 months after the calls picked up, I heard Daniel on the phone in our bedroom. I'd gone upstairs to grab my book and caught the tail end of the conversation. His voice was low, soothing in that way you talk to someone who's crying. "I know," he was saying. "I know it's hard. But you're doing great."
He sees that.
"I'll handle it." I stood in the hallway, my hand on the doorframe. Handle what? When he came downstairs 10 minutes later, he didn't look at me, just kissed the top of my head and said he was going to check on Noah. I let it go. That's what I did back then. I let things go. The school event happened on a Thursday. It was one of those autumn evening things, open house, book fair, student art on display. Noah had been excited all week because his clay sculpture of a dragon was going to be shown. He'd worked on it for 3 weeks, painted every scale a different shade of green. Daniel and I got there early. Noah ran ahead to find his art teacher, and we followed, smiling at other parents, making small talk. Normal. Then I heard her voice.
Noah.
Baby. I turned. Erin was speed-walking across the gymnasium in heels and a dress that looked new. She scooped Noah into a hug that lifted him off his feet, and he laughed, surprised but happy.
Kids are like that.
They forgive easily. Mommy missed you so much, she said, loud enough that heads turned. Show me everything, sweetheart. I want to see it all. The room got quieter. Not silent, but that pointed kind of quiet where people are pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. I smiled. It felt like my face might crack, but I smiled. Daniel stepped forward, awkward. Hey, Erin. We didn't know you were coming. She finally looked at us. At him, really. Her smile was bright and sharp at the same time. I wouldn't miss this for the world. He's my son. Nobody corrected her. Not the teacher standing nearby. Not the other parents. Not Daniel. Certainly not me. She took Noah's hand and walked him toward the art display. I stood there, holding the jacket Noah had shoved at me, feeling like I'd been erased in front of 50 witnesses. Daniel touched my elbow. Let's just let her have this. I pulled my arm away gently. I wasn't trying to take it. That night, after Noah fell asleep, I brought it up.
Carefully.
I wasn't angry. I was confused. Why didn't you tell me she was going to be there? Daniel was loading the dishwasher. He didn't look up. I didn't know. She texted last minute. She called him her son like I wasn't standing right there. Ruby. He closed the dishwasher, leaned against the counter. She is his mom. You know that.
Ida.
But I'm also. I stopped. I didn't know how to finish that sentence without sounding desperate. She's fragile, Daniel said again. Noah needs stability, and if Erin feels like we're pushing her out, she'll spiral. I just need you to be patient. Where do I fit in that stability, Daniel? He didn't answer. He just looked at me like I was being difficult. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about something I didn't want to admit. I didn't want to compete with the woman who gave birth to the child I'd raised. Love isn't a ranking system. It's not a contest. But someone was keeping score. And I was losing. The Europe transfer had been on the table for over a year. My company had offered it twice before, better pay, leadership experience, a chance to build something new. Both times, I'd turned it down without hesitation. For Noah. For Daniel. For the family I thought we were building. This time, when my boss brought it up again, I didn't say no immediately. I said I'd think about it. That hesitation felt like betrayal. But it also felt like the first honest thing I'd done in months. Erin started testing boundaries after that night. She suggested Noah see a therapist, without stepmom influence, she told Daniel. She wanted family-only holidays, meaning her, Daniel, and Noah. She started calling Daniel more, always with some small crisis that needed his immediate attention. And Daniel listened. Every time. Each suggestion sounded reasonable when he related to me. Noah could benefit from therapy. Family traditions matter. Erin was trying so hard. But each one moved me further to the edge of the frame. One Sunday morning, I was making pancakes. Noah was setting the table, chattering about a field trip coming up. Daniel's phone buzzed. He stepped into the hallway. When he came back, his face was tight. Erin wants to take Noah for Thanksgiving this year. I flipped a pancake. Okay. Just okay. What do you want me to say, Daniel? He sat down heavily. I don't know. I thought you'd be upset. I turned off the stove. Noah had gone quiet, watching us. Would it matter if I was? Daniel didn't answer. That night, after Noah went to bed, I stood in his doorway for a long time. Watched his chest rise and fall. The nightlight shaped like a rocket ship cast shadows on the wall. His stuffed bear, the one I'd given him when he had nightmares 2 years ago, was tucked under his arm. I realized I was the only one awake in that house who felt like they were disappearing. And nobody else seemed to notice. The conversation that ended everything didn't start with yelling. It started with salmon. Daniel had picked up dinner on the way home from work, salmon, roasted vegetables, the kind of meal that says we're trying to be healthy adults. We sat down at the table like we had 1,000 times before. Noah was at a friend's house for a sleepover. It was just us. That should have been nice.
Quiet.
Intimate. Instead, it felt like sitting across from a stranger. Daniel pushed his fork around his plate. Erin called today. I took a sip of water. Okay. She wants more time with Noah. Consistent time. She's asking for alternating weeks instead of just weekends. I set my glass down carefully. That's a big change. I know.
He finally looked at me.
But she's stable now. She has a good job, a nice apartment. Her therapist says she's ready. Her therapist.
Yeah.
I let that sit for a moment. And what does Noah's therapist say? Since we're apparently collecting professional opinions now. Daniel's jaw tightened. That's not fair. Isn't it? I leaned back. Daniel, where does this leave me? In this new arrangement where Erin gets alternating weeks and family holidays, where do I fit?
He sighed.
Not the frustrated kind of sigh. The exhausted kind. The kind that says he's already made up his mind, and this conversation is just a formality. That sigh hurt more than anything he could have said. Ruby, you know this is complicated. That's not an answer. He put his fork down, folded his hands like he was about to deliver bad news gently, the way you tell someone their pet died. He needs his real mom right now. The room went very still. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "You're the step one." I didn't cry.
I didn't yell.
I just looked at him and asked the only question that mattered. What does real mean, Daniel? He blinked. What?
Real.
Define it for me. Because I'm trying to understand what part of the last 6 years wasn't real. The 3 a.m. fevers? The school projects? Teaching him to tie his shoes? Which part of that was fake? Daniel ran a hand through his hair. That's not what I meant. You know that's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Biology matters, he said. History matters. Erin is his mother. She gave birth to him. She's trying now, Ruby. She's really trying. She's trying now, I repeated. After 6 years of me doing it every single day. You chose this, he said, and there it was. The thing he'd been thinking but never saying. Nobody forced you to be a stepmother. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. You're right. I chose it.
I chose Noah.
I chose you. I chose this family. And you're telling me that choice means nothing because I didn't give birth to him. That's not what I'm saying. Noah calls me mom, I said. My voice cracked on the word. He has called me mom for 4 years. Did you know that? Or have you been too busy managing Erin's feelings to notice? Daniel's face shifted. Guilt, maybe. Or just discomfort. Kids get confused, he said quietly. Those 3 words landed like a physical blow.
Kids. Get.
Confused. Not he loves you, or you're important to him, or even I should have said something. Just that Noah was confused. Like his love for me was a mistake. A misunderstanding that needed correcting. I walked to the counter and picked up my phone. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I got offered a transfer. Europe. I've turned it down twice. Daniel's head snapped up. What? I turned it down for you. For Noah. For this family. I looked at him. I'm not turning it down again. He stood so fast his chair almost tipped. Ruby, wait. You can't just leave. Noah needs consistency. I finished. Stability? Someone who shows up. Yes. Then why are you pushing out the person who's been doing that for 6 years? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Tried again. This is different.
How?
Because you can't just leave. His voice rose, desperate now. That would be abandoning him. He would never forgive you. And there it was. The double standard laid bare. I was essential, necessary, required to stay. But I wasn't real. I wasn't his mother. I was expected to sacrifice everything, endlessly, with no claim to permanence. No title that couldn't be revoked. No place that couldn't be given away. I'm going upstairs, I said. Ruby, I need to think. I didn't slam the door. I closed it quietly. And then I opened my closet and pulled out my suitcase. I didn't pack like I was running away. I packed like I was moving, methodically, one drawer at a time. I folded clothes I hadn't worn in months, sorted through shoes, pulled documents from the filing cabinet. My passport, my work contracts, my college transcripts, all the pieces of a life that existed before Daniel, before Noah, evidence that I was someone before I became the step one. Around midnight, Daniel knocked softly. Can I come in? It's your house. He winced. Don't do that. I zipped up a bag. Said nothing. Please don't take the transfer, he said. I know I said it wrong downstairs. I'm terrible at this. But Ruby, we need you. No one needs you. You can't just leave. You said he needs his real mom. I was trying to explain Aaron's perspective. Were you? I turned to face him. Or were you explaining yours? That's not fair. You keep saying that. Like fairness is something I'm supposed to ignore for everyone's comfort but my own. He stepped into the room. What do you want me to say? That Aaron doesn't matter? That biology doesn't matter? Because I can't say that. It wouldn't be true. I'm not asking you to erase her, Daniel. I'm asking you where I stand. Not temporarily. Not conditionally. Just where I actually stand in this family. He couldn't answer. He looked at me with those same brown eyes Noah had, and he couldn't give me a single solid thing to hold on to. I need time, he finally said. For what? To figure this out. To make it work. Make what work? Erin gets to come and go as she pleases. You get to keep the peace. Noah gets 2 moms. And I get to be grateful for scraps while pretending I'm not being erased. That's not. Yes, it is. I sat on the edge of the bed. I love Noah more than almost anything in this world. But staying here, being the step one, watching you prioritize her feelings over my existence, that's killing me, Daniel. And you don't even see it. He sat down next to me. Not touching. Just present. What if I promise things will balance out? You can't promise that. Because you don't actually control this. Erin does. She'll keep pushing, and you'll keep giving, because you're terrified of conflict. And one day I'll wake up and realize I don't even live here anymore. I'm just haunting the edges of someone else's family. So, you're just going to leave. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. I'm going to stop disappearing slowly, I said. That's different. The next morning, I wrote Noah a letter. Not an email. A real letter, on paper, in my handwriting. I told him I loved him. That I would always love him. That me leaving wasn't about him, it was about making sure I didn't lose myself while trying to hold on. I told him I'd call. That I'd visit. That he could reach me anytime, day or night. I told him love doesn't have to live in the same house to be real. I left the letter on his pillow, next to the rocket ship nightlight. Daniel was downstairs when I brought my suitcases to the door. You're really doing this? I accepted the transfer this morning. Ruby, please. I'll be back for my things in a few weeks. We can figure out logistics then. What do I tell Noah? I looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man I'd loved enough to rebuild my entire life around. Tell him the truth, I said. That sometimes the people who love you the most have to leave to keep loving you the right way. I walked out before he could respond. Before I could change my mind. Before I could let myself believe that staying would ever be anything but slow erasure. Amsterdam was beautiful and lonely in equal measure. I'd imagined Europe as some kind of emotional reset, new city, new language, new version of myself that wasn't defined by what I'd lost. But grief doesn't respect geography. It followed me across the ocean and settled into the bones of my tiny apartment into pitch. The first week, I barely left the flat. I'd wake up to church bells and lights slanting through old windows, and for half a second I'd forget where I was. Then I'd remember. The empty rooms. The silence. The fact that thousands of miles away, Noah was waking up in a house where I no longer existed. Work helped. The job was demanding in the way I needed, complex projects, steep learning curves, colleagues who didn't know my history. I was just Ruby. Not Ruby, the stepmother. Not Ruby who left. Just Ruby. But at night, alone, I was all of those things at once. I called Noah every Sunday. Daniel made it easy at first, too easy, maybe. He'd answer cheerfully, pass the phone over, and I'd hear Noah's voice like a lifeline. Not Mom anymore. Ruby. I told myself it was appropriate. Professional distance. Letting him adjust.
But it hollowed me out every single time.
How's school, buddy? Good. We're learning about the solar system. Did you know Saturn has 146 moons? I didn't know that. That's so cool. We talk about homework and soccer and his new favorite video game. Surface things. Safe things. The conversations were warm but careful, like we were both reading from a script designed not to hurt. By the third week, I noticed Aaron's voice in the background. Not intruding, just present. A constant hum behind Noah's words. Who are you talking to, honey? Ruby.
Oh.
Well, don't stay on too long. We've got plans. The calls got shorter. Daniel's texts changed too. At first, he'd send updates throughout the week. Photos of Noah at soccer practice. Funny things he'd said. Small reassurances that I was still part of the narrative. Then the updates became sporadic. Then rare. Busy week. We'll send pics soon. Things are hectic. Talk later. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. The two most dishonest words in the English language. I started therapy in week 4. Not because I thought it would fix anything, but because sitting alone in a foreign country crying over a child who wasn't legally mine felt unsustainable. Dr. May was Dutch-Chinese, mid-50s, with the kind of calm that felt earned rather than performed. Her office was a 10-minute bike ride from my apartment, tucked above a bookstore. Tell me why you're here, she said at our first session. I left my family. Did you? She tilted her head. Or, did your family leave you first? That question unraveled me. Over the next few sessions, we pulled apart 6 years of my life like a tangled necklace. All the moments I'd swallowed my feelings for Noah's sake. All the times I'd accepted being secondary because I thought it was temporary. All the ways I'd let fragile, and for Noah, become reasons to erase myself. You are allowed to love deeply, Dr. May said one afternoon. But you were never allowed to belong fully. Do you see the difference? I did. Finally, painfully, I did. Meanwhile, back home, Aaron's involvement escalated in ways I only heard about in fragments. Daniel mentioned, casually, like it wasn't a seismic shift, that Aaron wanted to be added to Noah's school contact list. As primary. That meant emails about grades, behavior, events would go to her first. She's his mother, Daniel said when I expressed concern over video chat. It makes sense. I was on that list for 5 years, Daniel. I know, but things are different now. Different. Another word for erased. Noah's behavior started changing around week 7. It was subtle at first, harder to get him on the phone, shorter responses, a tiredness in his voice that hadn't been there before. You okay, buddy? Yeah, just tired. School going okay? I guess. Then one Sunday, he asked me something that made my chest crack open. Ruby, did you leave because I was bad? I almost dropped the phone. Noah, no. Baby, no. Why would you think that? Silence. The kind that means someone is crying quietly. Noah, listen to me. I didn't leave because of you. I left because I needed to take care of myself. But that doesn't mean I stopped loving you. Not for a second. Okay. His voice was so small. Do you believe me? I think so. After we hung up, I sat on my couch and stared at the canal outside my window. Boats drifted past. Cyclists rang their bells. Life continued in its oblivious way. And I realized Noah was internalizing my absence as punishment. I called Daniel immediately. He answered on the 4th ring, sounding distracted. Hey, what's up? Noah just asked if I left because he was bad. A pause.
What?
He thinks me leaving was his fault, Daniel. What's going on there? Nothing. I mean, it's been an adjustment, but is Aaron saying something to him?
No.
Ruby, you're reading into this. Am I? because he sounded scared.
He's fine.
He's adjusting. Kids are resilient. Resilient doesn't mean undamaged. Daniel sighed. That sigh again. I'm doing my best here. I know you are. But I need you to tell me the truth. How is he really? Another pause. Longer this time. He's having nightmares again. The ones he had when he was 5. About being left behind. But his therapist says it's normal for big transitions. My stomach dropped. How long has this been happening? A few weeks. And you didn't tell me? I didn't want to worry you. You're trying to build a new life. He's my life, Daniel. He doesn't stop being my life because I'm in a different country. I know. I'm sorry. I thought I could handle it. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Not obsessively. Methodically. Dates of calls. Length of conversations.
Things Noah said.
Things Daniel said. Changes in routine. I didn't know why I was doing it.
Just that I needed to.
In week 9, I got an email from Noah's school counselor, Mrs. Patterson, who I'd met dozens of times at conferences and events. The subject line read, "Checking in. Ruby, I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to reach out regarding Noah. I've noticed some concerning changes in his behavior over the past month, increased anxiety, difficulty concentrating, and some regressive behaviors during recess. He's mentioned you've moved away, and I wanted to make sure communication lines are still open between our support systems. Please let me know if you're available for a call. Best, Jennifer Patterson." The email wasn't addressed to Aaron. It was addressed to me. I replied immediately, and we set up a video call for the following day. Mrs. Patterson didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Ruby, I'm concerned. Noah's academic performance hasn't dropped significantly, but his emotional regulation has. He's withdrawn during group activities. He's been asking to call you during school hours." My throat tightened. "I've been calling every Sunday." "I know. He's mentioned that. But I think he needs more consistent contact right now. And frankly, between you and me, the parenting dynamic seems destabilized. Aaron is inconsistent. And Daniel appears overwhelmed. Has something specific happened?" She hesitated. "I can't share certain details without parent consent. But I will say that Noah's sense of security seems fragile right now. And you were always his anchor."
Were.
Past tense. After the call, I tried Daniel again. He picked up, but he was driving. I talked to Mrs. Patterson. "Yeah, she mentioned she might reach out." His voice was tight. "Daniel, what's going on?" "She said Noah's asking to call me during school." "It's fine. He just misses you." "It's not fine if it's disrupting his school day." A horn honked in the background. "Look, she's trying, okay? But it's a lot. She has opinions about everything now. Bedtimes. Screen time. What he eats. And if I don't agree, she accuses me of undermining her. So let her take the lead. She wanted this." "It's not that simple," Daniel said. "She's not." He stopped himself. "Not what?" "Consistent. She'll be really involved for a few days, then disappear for work or whatever, and Noah doesn't know what to expect. And when I try to maintain routines, she says I'm being controlling." I rubbed my temples. This is exactly what I was afraid of. "I didn't think it would be like this," Daniel admitted quietly. "I thought giving her space would help. I thought she'd stabilize. Instead, everything feels more chaotic." We sat in silence. An ocean between us, neither knowing how to fix what was breaking. "I'm not coming back to that house, Daniel." "I know, but I can't watch Noah fall apart from a distance either." "So what do we do?" I didn't have an answer yet. I just knew that staying away wasn't protecting Noah. It was just a different kind of abandonment. That night, at 2:47 a.m., I lay awake staring at my ceiling. My phone glowed on the nightstand. I opened the email from Mrs. Patterson and read it again. Then I opened my banking app and looked at my savings. Then I pulled up flights from Amsterdam to home. Something was very wrong, and I wasn't going to wait for a crisis to act. The call came 16 days later, at 3:01 a.m. Amsterdam time. I'd been asleep for maybe 2 hours, tangled in sheets that still felt foreign. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, loud in the silent dark. I grabbed it without thinking, heart already racing the way it does when you know bad news is coming. Daniel's name on the screen. Hello. Ruby. His voice cracked on my name. Not angry. Not defensive. Broken. I sat up, fumbling for the lamp. What's wrong? Is Noah okay? He won't sleep. Daniel's breath hitched. He hasn't slept in 3 days. Not really. He cries. He asks for you. Not Aaron. Not me. You. My chest tightened. Put him on the phone. He finally fell asleep 20 minutes ago. I don't want to wake him. He made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I pressed my palm against my forehead, trying to think through the fog of adrenaline and sleep deprivation. Start from the beginning. What happened? Daniel let out a long, shaky breath. Aaron moved out. Silence. When? 4 days ago. We had a fight. A bad one. She accused me of using Noah as leverage against her, of never really supporting her relationship with him. She said I let you poison Noah against her. His voice went flat. Then she threatened to file for emergency custody and left. Where did she go? I don't know. Her phone goes straight to voicemail. Her apartment's empty. Her sister won't talk to me. I stood up, pacing my small apartment. Outside, Amsterdam was still asleep. And Noah? He keeps asking when she's coming back. I told him she needed some space, that she'd be back soon. But he knows I'm lying. Kids always know. Daniel paused. And then he started asking for you. All the time. He drew you a picture. It's taped to his wall. He falls asleep holding that bear you gave him. My eyes burned. Daniel. The house feels wrong without you. He said it quietly, ashamed. Everything feels wrong. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought giving Aaron space, letting her back in fully, would create balance. Instead, I destroyed everything. I walked to my window. The canal reflected streetlights, still and dark. What do you need from me? Can you come back? The words tumbled out fast. Just for a little while. Just until things stabilize. Noah needs. Don't. My voice came out sharper than I intended. Don't tell me what Noah needs. Tell me what you need. He was quiet for a long moment. I need help, he finally said.
I'm drowning, Ruby.
I'm missing work. Noah's grades are slipping. He had a panic attack at school yesterday, and I don't know how to fix any of it. You can't fix it, I said. That's the problem. You've been trying to manage everyone's emotions instead of dealing with reality. I know.
Do you?
Because it sounds like Erin exploded exactly the way I warned you she would, and now you want me to come back and hold everything together while you figure out the next temporary solution. That's not, he stopped. You're right. That's exactly what I'm doing. I sat down on my couch, pulled a blanket around my shoulders. My apartment was cold. Everything was cold. If I come back, I said carefully, where do I actually stand? Not in theory. Not in we'll figure it out. In reality. What am I coming back to? Daniel didn't answer right away. I could hear him breathing, thinking, trying to find the right words. I don't know, he finally admitted. I don't have a good answer. All I know is that Noah is falling apart, and the only person he wants is you. And I was an idiot for ever making you feel like you weren't his real mother. But I'm not, I said. Legally. Biologically. According to Aaron. According to the school. I'm the woman who lived there for 6 years, and then left. That's all I am on paper. That's not all you are to Noah. It might not be enough. I know. His voice was so small. But I'm asking anyway. Not because I deserve your help. Because he needs you. I closed my eyes. Thought about Noah's face. His laugh. The way he used to run to me after school, backpack bouncing, excited to tell me about his day. I need to think about it. Okay. And Daniel? If I come back, things are different. I'm not sliding back into that house like nothing happened. I'm not pretending I don't have boundaries anymore. I understand. I don't think you do. But you will. After we hung up, I didn't go back to sleep. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and stared at the email from Mrs. Patterson again. Then I opened a new document and started writing. Not a plan. A list of terms. Things I needed to be true before I could even consider returning. The sun rose over Amsterdam while I typed. Pink and gold lights spread across the canals. Cyclists emerged. The city woke up. And I realized something I'd been too afraid to admit before. I didn't want to go back to the life I'd left. But I couldn't live with myself if I didn't go back for Noah. So I'd have to build something new. Something that didn't erase me. Something where love didn't require self-destruction. I pulled up flights. Then I pulled up rental listings near Daniel's house. Not in his house. Near it. That distinction felt crucial. I booked a ticket for the following week. Then I sent Daniel a text. I'll come back, but not to the house. We do this on my terms or not at all. His response came 2 minutes later. Anything. Thank you. I stared at that word. Anything. He didn't know what he was agreeing to, but he was about to find out. I landed on a Tuesday afternoon in October. The rental was a small 2-bedroom townhouse 15 minutes from Daniel's place, close enough to be present, far enough to have my own space. It had hardwood floors that creaked, a kitchen window that faced a maple tree, and absolutely nothing that reminded me of the life I'd left behind. I unpacked methodically. Clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom, laptop on the desk. Each item placed deliberately, claiming space that was mine alone. Daniel texted around 5. You're back. I'm in town, settling in. Can I bring Noah by? I stared at the message. My first instinct was to say yes immediately. But I'd learned something in Amsterdam. Immediate yes without boundaries was how I'd disappeared the first time.
Tomorrow.
I need tonight. A long pause. Then, okay. Thank you for coming back. That night, I didn't sleep much. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, reviewing everything I'd documented over the past 3 months.
Call logs.
Emails from Mrs. Patterson. Notes from therapy sessions. Daniel's texts about Aaron's escalating demands. I wasn't building a case. I was trying to understand the pattern. And the pattern was clear. Every time someone said for Noah's sake, they meant at Ruby's expense. The next afternoon, Daniel's car pulled into my driveway at exactly 3:30. I watched from the window as Noah climbed out slowly, looking smaller than I remembered. He was wearing the blue hoodie I'd bought him last spring. It was getting too short in the sleeves. Daniel walked him to the door. I opened it before they could knock. Noah's eyes went wide. Ruby. Hey, buddy. He crashed into me so hard I stumbled back. His arms wrapped around my waist, his face pressed against my shoulder, and he started crying. Not dramatic sobs, the quiet, exhausted kind that comes from holding everything in for too long. I knelt down, holding him tight. I'm here. I've got you. Daniel stood in the doorway, his hands in his pockets, looking like he didn't know whether to stay or go. Give us an hour? I said over Noah's head. He nodded and left without argument. I brought Noah inside. We sat on the couch together, his head on my shoulder, neither of us saying much. After a while, his breathing evened out. The tension in his small body slowly released. I thought you weren't coming back, he finally whispered. I know. I'm sorry it took so long. Dad said you had important work stuff. I chose my words carefully. I did have work. But the real reason I stayed away was because I needed to figure some things out. Adult things. Things that had nothing to do with you. But you're back now? I'm back. Not in the same house, but I'm here. And I'm not leaving again. He lifted his head, those brown eyes searching my face. Promise. I wanted to promise. Every instinct screamed to give him absolute certainty. But I'd learned that promises without conditions were just pretty lies. I promise I will do everything I can to stay in your life. No matter what happens with the grown-ups, you and I were solid. Okay. He nodded slowly, then settled back against me. We spent the hour playing a card game he'd learned at school, eating the cookies I'd bought that morning, and talking about everything except the hard stuff. When Daniel came back, Noah didn't want to leave. Can I stay here tonight? He asked. Daniel and I exchanged a look. Not tonight, buddy, I said gently. But we'll figure out a schedule, so you can visit a lot. Deal?
Deal.
After they left, I called Daniel. We need to talk. Adults only. When? Tomorrow night. After Noah's asleep. He arrived at 8 carrying a folder. That surprised me. What's that? I asked, letting him in. Paperwork. From Erin's lawyer. He set it on my kitchen table like it might explode. She filed for emergency custody 2 days before she left. The hearing's in 3 weeks. My stomach dropped. I sat down and opened the folder. The language was brutal. Erin claimed Noah had been emotionally manipulated by me. That Daniel had allowed confusion of maternal roles to damage Noah's sense of identity. That she was the stable parent and should have primary custody. Confusion of maternal roles, I read aloud. She's not fighting for Noah's well-being. She's fighting to erase me from his history. Daniel sat across from me, his head in his hands. I didn't expect this. I thought if I gave her space, let her be involved, she'd calm down. Instead, she's rewriting reality, I finished. Making herself the victim and me the villain. We sat in silence. Mrs. Patterson called me yesterday, I said. She wants to testify. She's documented Noah's regression, his anxiety, his attachment issues. She says his strongest emotional anchor is me. Daniel looked up. Really? Really? But Daniel, I need you to understand something. Legally, I have 0 rights here. 0. I can't fight for custody. I can't petition the court. On paper, I'm just the woman who lived with you for 6 years. That's not true. Legally, it is. I talked to a family attorney in Amsterdam before I came back. Do you know what she told me? I leaned forward. She said judges listen to children when adults stop listening to each other. What does that mean? It means Noah has a voice. Even if I don't. Over the next week, I established a routine. Noah came over after school 3 days a week. We did homework at my kitchen table. I made him snacks. We played board games and watched nature documentaries. Normal things. But I also documented everything. Arrival times. His mood. Things he said about how he felt at Daniel's house. Not to use against anyone, but to understand what he needed. One afternoon, he asked me something that broke my heart. Ruby, am I still allowed to call you Mom? I set down the apple one was slicing. Do you want to call me Mom? He nodded, but he looked scared. Then yes. Always yes. But Erin said... He stopped. What did Erin say? His voice got very small. That you're not my mom. That I was confused. That calling you Mom hurt her feelings. I knelt in front of him. Noah, listen to me very carefully. You get to decide what you call the people you love. Not me. Not your dad. Not Erin. You. And whatever you decide, I'll love you exactly the same. He thought about that. Can I think about it? Of course. That night, I called Daniel and told him what Noah had said. His silence was heavy. She told him that? Yes. While I was at work, probably. He stopped. She's been saying a lot of things I don't hear until later. Like what? That I never loved her. That I replaced her with you. That Noah would forget her if she wasn't careful. He sounded exhausted. She's not fighting for Noah, Ruby. She's fighting to win something she thinks she lost. And Noah's caught in the middle.
Yeah.
2 weeks before the hearing, Erin called me. I almost didn't answer. What do you want? I asked. I want you to leave. Her voice was cold. You're not his mother. You never were. And you staying around just confuses him. He's not confused, Erin. He knows exactly who's been there for him. You manipulated him. You made him think he needed you, so Daniel would keep you around. I took a breath. Is that really what you think? Or are you angry because he bonded with someone while you were gone? She made us sound like a wounded animal. You have no idea what it's like. Leaving your child, knowing you failed, then coming back and realizing someone else took your place. I didn't take your place. I filled the space you left behind. There's a difference. Not to me. She hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. For the first time, I felt something unexpected toward Erin. Not hate. Not even anger.
Pity.
She'd left a child she couldn't handle and returned expecting to find everything frozen in time, waiting for her return. Instead, she found a boy who'd built a life without her. And rather than joining that life, she was trying to destroy it. The night before the hearing, Noah left me a voicemail. It was late, nearly 10. His voice was a whisper. Ruby, I miss you. I know you're not far away, but it feels far. Dad says tomorrow is important. I don't really understand what's happening, but I'm scared. I just wanted to hear your voice. Even if it's just your voicemail. I love you. I saved that message. Then I recorded one back.
Calm. Steady.
Reassuring. Noah, whatever happens tomorrow, nothing changes between us. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. And you're the bravest kid I know. Sleep well, buddy. I'll see you soon. I sent it and sat in my quiet townhouse, preparing for a battle where I technically didn't have standing. But Noah did. And that would have to be enough. The courthouse was exactly as grim as I'd imagined. Fluorescent lights, uncomfortable chairs, the smell of old coffee and anxiety. I arrived early, dressed in the kind of professional clothes that said, responsible adult, without trying too hard. Daniel was already there, sitting on a bench outside the courtroom. He looked like he hadn't slept. When he saw me, something in his face eased slightly. You came. Of course I came. You're not on the witness list. You might not even be allowed in. Then I'll wait outside. But I'm here. Erin arrived 10 minutes later with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in a gray suit who immediately made me feel like I was the problem. Erin's eyes found me, and something flashed across her face. Not anger. Fear, maybe. She looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile in a way that wasn't charming anymore, just brittle. The hearing started at 9. I wasn't allowed in the courtroom, so I sat in the hallway, listening to the muffled voices through the door, watching the clock tick forward. Daniel's lawyer had prepped me on what to expect. Erin would testify first. She'd present herself as the reformed mother fighting for her child. She'd paint me as the interloper who'd caused confusion and harm. Then Daniel would testify. He'd explain his perspective, try to show stability. Then Mrs. Patterson would speak about Noah's emotional state. And then, if the judge allowed it, Noah would be asked if he wanted to say anything. That last part terrified me more than anything else. He was 9. What kind of impossible position was that? 2 hours passed. The door finally opened and Daniel's lawyer, a kind man named Mr. Reeves, motioned me over. They're asking for you. My heart stopped. What? Erin's lawyer brought you up. The judge wants you present. I walked into that courtroom feeling like I was walking to my own trial. The judge was a woman in her 60s, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. You're Ruby Chin? Yes, Your Honor. You're the former stepmother? Former. That word landed hard. I was engaged in a parental role for 6 years, yes. And you currently have no legal relationship to the child? No, Your Honor. She studied me for a moment. Ms. Martinez claims your involvement caused the child emotional confusion and undermined her attempts to rebuild her relationship with her son. What do you say to that? I chose my words carefully. I say that loving a child isn't undermining anyone. I was present when Noah needed someone. I didn't erase his mother. I just didn't let him feel abandoned while she was figuring things out. Erin's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, this is exactly the problem. Ms. Chin positioned herself as a replacement mother rather than supporting the biological parent. I supported Noah. I interrupted. That was my job. Not to manage adult egos, but to make sure a child felt safe and loved. The judge held up a hand. I've heard enough from the adults. She looked toward the door. Bring in the child. My chest tightened. Noah walked in slowly, his eyes wide. He saw Daniel first, then Erin, then me. When our eyes met, he looked so scared. The judge's voice softened immediately.
No.
I'm Judge Martinez. You're not in trouble, okay? I just want to ask you a few questions. He nodded. Do you know why we're here today? Another nod. Something about where I live. That's right. Your mom, Erin, would like you to spend more time with her.
How do you feel about that?
Noah glanced at Erin. She was smiling at him, that bright, desperate smile. I don't know, he said quietly. That's okay. Let me ask you something else. When you're scared or sad, who do you usually want to talk to? Noah's eyes found me again. Ruby. Erin made a small sound. Her lawyer touched her arm. And why Ruby? The judge asked gently. Because she stays. She doesn't leave when things are hard. The courtroom went very quiet. Can you tell me more about that? Noah twisted his hands together. My mom leaves a lot. And when she comes back, she's really happy, but then she gets mad if things aren't how she wants. And then she leaves again. And Ruby. Ruby was always there. Even when she moved far away, she still called me every week. She still remembered everything about me. The judge made a note. Noah, no one is asking you to choose. But I need to understand, do you feel safe with your mom? He hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Sometimes. And with your dad? Yeah. But he's tired a lot now. And with Ruby? Always. His voice was so certain. I always feel safe with Ruby. Erin stood up suddenly. He doesn't understand what he's saying. She manipulated him. Ms. Martinez, sit down. The judge's voice was steel. I will not have you accusing a 9-year-old of lying in my courtroom. Erin sat, but she looked like she might shatter. The judge turned back to Noah. One more question, sweetheart. If you could have things any way you wanted, what would that look like?
Noah thought about it.
I want my dad. And I want Ruby. And I want my mom to stop being mad all the time. Thank you, Noah. You've been very brave. As they let him out, Noah looked back at me. I gave him a small smile and a nod. He was so much braver than any adult in that room. The judge reviewed her notes for what felt like an eternity. Then she looked at Erin. Ms. Martinez, I'm not granting your petition for emergency custody. The child has expressed clear emotional bonds and stability in his current arrangement. However, she held up a hand as Erin started to protest. You will maintain your current visitation rights. Additionally, Noah will continue therapy to help him navigate these relationships. She turned to Daniel. Mr. Walker, you'll retain primary custody. But I'm ordering family counseling. All of you, Ms. Martinez, and yes, Ms. Chun if she's willing. Your Honor, Erin's lawyer interjected, Ms. Chun has no legal standing. Ms. Chun has the child's emotional standing. And in this courtroom, that matters. She looked at me. Are you willing to participate in family counseling? Yes, Your Honor. Good. Additionally, I'm granting Ms. Chun continued contact with Noah, supervised if Ms. Martinez prefers, but contact nonetheless. Erin's face went red. This is ridiculous. She's not his mother. No, the judge said calmly. But she's someone he loves. Someone who's been consistent. And I'm not in the business of severing healthy attachments because adults can't manage their emotions. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. Erin stormed out before anyone could say anything. Her lawyer followed, looking frustrated. Daniel turned to me. Ruby. Not here, I said. Let's get Noah and go home. Outside, Noah was waiting with the court advocate. When he saw us, he ran to me first. I caught him, held him. You did so good, buddy. Did I say the wrong thing?
No.
You said exactly what you needed to say. He pulled back, looking at me seriously. Ruby, I want to call you Mom. Is that okay? My eyes burned. Yeah, buddy. That's more than okay. Daniel asked me to come home that night. We were standing in my driveway after dropping Noah off. He needed a nap after the emotional exhaustion of court. Please, Ruby. We can fix this. As a family. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the man I'd loved enough to rebuild my entire life around. No, I said gently. His face fell.
What?
I'm not coming back to that house. I can't live somewhere my place is always conditional. It wouldn't be conditional. Yes, it would. Because nothing about the fundamental problem has changed. You still avoid conflict. Aaron still sees me as competition, and I still don't have any legal protection. I cross my arms. I love you, Daniel. I probably always will. But love without respect isn't sustainable. So that's it? We're done.
We've been done for a while.
We just didn't want to admit it. He stood there looking lost. What about Noah? Noah and I are solid. The judge made sure of that. But you and I, we need different things now. 2 days later, we started couples counseling. Not to save the marriage, Mr. Reeves had suggested it as a way to untangle things cleanly. Our therapist, Dr. Yoon, was straightforward in a way that felt almost brutal. You're not here to reconcile, she said at our first session. You're here to understand why this failed, so you can co-parent effectively. Over the next few weeks, things I'd been avoiding came to the surface. Daniel admitted that calling me the step one was easier than confronting Aaron. That he'd spent years prioritizing peace over partnership. That he'd let me carry the emotional weight of the family because I'd been willing to. I took advantage of you, he said during our 4th session. I knew you'd sacrifice anything for Noah. So I let you.
Why?
I asked. Because dealing with Aaron was hard. And you made everything easier. It hurt to hear. But it was honest. Meanwhile, Aaron violated the court's guidelines almost immediately. She showed up at Noah's school unannounced, trying to take him to lunch without clearing it with Daniel. She called him late at night, crying, asking why he didn't love her anymore. Each incident was documented. Each one made her case weaker. Noah's therapy helped him enormously. His therapist, Dr. Kim, was gentle but direct. She helped him understand that adults sometimes made mistakes that had nothing to do with him. That love didn't require him to fix broken people. His nightmares faded. His grades stabilized. He started laughing again, the real kind, not the forced kind. But the biggest change was when I picked him up from school one Wednesday. He climbed into my car and said, "Mom, can we get ice cream?"
Mom, no hesitación.
No fear. Yeah, buddy. We can get ice cream. Daniel and I filed for divorce in November. There was no courtroom drama, no fighting over assets. We divided things respectfully. Honestly, most of it felt irrelevant. What mattered was Noah's schedule. We agreed he'd live primarily with Daniel, but spend 3 nights a week with me, plus alternating weekends. More than most stepmothers got after a divorce. More than I'd ever thought possible. Erin's custody was reduced after another emotional outburst at a pickup. She'd screamed at Daniel in front of Noah, accused me of stealing her son, and told Noah he was betraying her by loving me. Noah had cried all the way to my house that night. 2 weeks later, Erin left town again. This time, she sent a brief email saying she needed space to heal and would be in touch when she was ready. Nobody was surprised. Noah asked me once if she'd come back. I don't know, buddy. Maybe. But if she does, it'll be because she figured out how to be healthy. Not because of anything you did or didn't do. Okay. He went back to his homework. It was that simple for him. Adults were complicated. But love didn't have to be. One evening in December, Daniel came by to pick Noah up. We stood on my porch, breath visible in the cold air. I never apologized properly, he said. You've apologized plenty, not for the right things.
He looked at me.
I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to earn your place in this family every single day. I'm sorry I let you love Noah completely, but never let you belong completely. And I'm sorry it took losing you to understand the difference. I nodded slowly. Thank you. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I think I already have. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. Or going back. He smiled sadly. Yeah, I'm learning that. After he left with Noah, I stood on my porch watching snow start to fall. My townhouse was warm behind me. Small but mine. I thought about going back to Europe. My company would take me back in a heartbeat. But I wasn't running anymore. One Saturday afternoon, Noah and I were building a Lego set on my living room floor. He was concentrating hard, his tongue between his teeth the way he did when he was focused. Mom, he said without looking up. Yeah. Can families change and still be real? I stopped, a Lego piece in my hand. What do you mean? He finally looked at me. Like, we're not all in the same house anymore. And Aaron's not really around. And you and Dad aren't married. But it still feels like family. Is that okay? I set down the Lego piece and pulled him close. That's more than okay. That's exactly what family should be. What do you mean? Family isn't about who lives where or who's married to who. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you even when it's complicated. I kissed the top of his head. And by that definition, buddy, we're absolutely family. He hugged me tight.
Good.
Because I don't want it to change. It won't. This part won't change. And I meant it. Spring arrived slowly, the way it does after a hard winter. My maple tree outside the kitchen window budded green, and the neighborhood kids started playing outside again. Life normalized in a way it hadn't before, not the forced calm of pretending everything was fine, but the real kind that comes after surviving something difficult. I renewed my Europe contract, but on my terms. I'd work remotely most of the year, with 1 month abroad per quarter. My company agreed. They'd learned I was valuable enough to accommodate. Daniel and I finalized the divorce in March. We met at a lawyer's office, signed papers, shook hands. It should have felt sad, but mostly it felt like closure. You doing okay? He asked in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You? Getting there. He smiled. Noah asked if you'd come to his soccer game on Saturday. I'll be there. We'd become something unexpected, actual co-parents. Not because we were together, but because we both loved the same kid. Noah's custody arrangement settled into a rhythm that worked. He lived with Daniel, but spent Sunday through Tuesday nights with me. Longer during summer. Holidays were split fairly, without drama. And slowly, impossibly, it started to feel normal. The judge's order for family counseling continued for 6 months. Aaron attended exactly twice, both times arriving late and leaving early. Eventually, Dr. Yoon recommended ending her mandatory participation. She's not ready, Dr. Yoon said. And forcing someone into healing before they're willing just creates resentment. Noah stopped asking when his biological mother would come back. He sent her a birthday card in April, a kind gesture that Daniel and I supported.
She didn't respond.
That hurt him. I could see it in the way he went quiet that evening. But he was learning something important. Other people's choices weren't his responsibility. In May, Daniel asked me something unexpected. We were at Noah's school concert, one of those excruciating but adorable events where 4th graders play recorders badly. Afterward, standing in the parking lot while Noah ran around with his friends, Daniel said, "I've been thinking about something." Yeah. If you wanted to, if you thought it was right, I'd support you adopting Noah. Legally. I stared at him. What? He calls you mom. You function as his mother. The only thing missing is the legal piece. Daniel looked uncomfortable but determined. I know it's complicated. And I know we'd need Noah's consent. But if that's something you wanted, I wouldn't fight it. I couldn't speak for a moment. That's huge, Daniel. I know. You don't have to answer now. Just think about it. I did think about it. For weeks. I talked to Dr. May via video call. I consulted a family lawyer. I examined my own motivations carefully, making sure I wasn't trying to claim something out of insecurity or spite. But in the end, it came down to one thing. Did formalizing my relationship with Noah serve him, or just me? I decided to ask Noah first. One evening in June, we were sitting on my back porch eating popsicles and watching fireflies emerge. Buddy, can I ask you a serious question? Sure. He was focused on catching drips before they hit his shirt. How would you feel if I adopted you? Legally, I mean. It wouldn't change anything about our actual relationship. You'd still live with your dad, still have the same schedule. But on paper, I'd officially be your mom. He stopped mid-lick. Like, for real, for real?
Yeah.
For real, for real. He thought about it, serious in that way 9-year-olds get when they're actually considering something important. Would my last name change? Only if you wanted it to. And Erin would still be my mom too? Biologically, yes. Always. This wouldn't erase her. But you'd be my mom in the law? Yes. He grinned. That would be awesome. I laughed, surprised by how simple it was for him. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then everyone would know. Not just me and you and Dad. Everyone. We started the paperwork in July. It was more complicated than I expected. Erin's consent was required, and tracking her down took weeks. Eventually, her lawyer reached her. She refused at first. Then Daniel's lawyer explained that the judge could override her objection based on abandonment. She signed. I tried not to feel triumphant about that. It wasn't a victory. It was just sad. The finalization hearing was in September. Nothing like the custody battle, just a formality in a small courtroom with Daniel, Noah, and me. The judge, a different one this time, an older man with kind eyes, smiled at Noah. Young man, do you understand what's happening today? Ruby's adopting me. And you're happy about that? Super happy. The judge chuckled. Then that's all I need to hear. He signed the papers. Congratulations. You're officially a family. Noah hugged me so hard I almost fell over. Outside, Daniel took our picture. Me and Noah, holding the signed papers, both of us grinning like idiots. This is going on the fridge, I said. Definitely. That night, after Daniel picked Noah up, I sat in my quiet townhouse with a glass of wine and the adoption papers on my coffee table. I thought about everything that had led here. The years of feeling invisible. The moment I'd left. The 3 a.m. phone call. The courtroom. The slow, painful work of rebuilding boundaries and trust. None of it had been easy, but all of it had been necessary. My phone buzzed. A text from Noah, sent from Daniel's. Good night, Mom. Love you. I smiled and typed back. Love you too, buddy. Sleep well. In October, my company offered me another promotion, bigger role, more responsibility, more travel. I accepted but negotiated terms that kept my roots here. Success didn't require sacrificing the people I loved anymore. I'd learned that the hard way. Daniel started dating someone in November. He told me over coffee, nervous about how I'd react. I'm happy for you, I said honestly. Really? Really? You deserve someone who's right for you. I just wasn't it. You were right for Noah. And that's enough. It was true. We'd loved each other once, but we'd been wrong together. That didn't make the love fake, just incomplete. Erin sent a message in December. Brief, bitter, unresolved. I hope you're happy. You got everything you wanted. I stared at it for a long time, deciding whether to respond. In the end, I didn't, because she was wrong. I didn't get everything I wanted. I got something better, something real, built on honesty instead of desperation. I got a child who chose me back. Christmas morning, Noah woke up at my house. We made pancakes together, opened presents, and video called Daniel so Noah could show him everything. Later, we drove over to Daniel's for lunch. His new girlfriend, Sarah, was there, kind, funny, good with Noah. We all ate together, laughing and telling stories. It should have been weird. Divorced parents and new partners, navigating holidays. But it wasn't. It was just family. Complicated, imperfect, chosen family. That evening, after we'd returned home and Noah was playing with his new Lego set, he looked up at me. Mom, yeah, buddy? I'm glad you came back. I knelt down next to him. Me too. Even though it was hard, especially because it was hard. I brushed his hair back. The best things usually are. He went back to his Legos, satisfied. I stood at my kitchen window, looking out at the maple tree. Snow was starting to fall again, soft and quiet. I thought about the Ruby who'd left for Europe, heartbroken, invisible, convinced she'd lost everything. She'd been wrong. She hadn't lost a family. She'd lost a role that never honored her. And in doing so, she'd found something more valuable, a family built on truth instead of obligation, on choice instead of biology, on showing up instead of just being there. Noah's laugh echoed from the living room. I smiled. This was what love looked like when it was real. Not perfect.
Not easy.
Not guaranteed. Just solid. Chosen. True. And that was more than enough. If love isn't measured by biology, then what makes it real? And are you brave enough to fight for a family that doesn't recognize you on paper? Hit that like button if this story made you think twice about what family really means, and subscribe for more stories about the complicated truth of modern relationships.